हमें अपने मन को हमेशा संतुलित रखना है। इसी में ही हमारा आत्म विकास समाया है।
Okay. So today we move to third niyama, that is Tapa. Tapa is not a new idea. We have already discussed it when we did Kriya Yoga, the very first session, when we started chapter 2. We had spent a lot of time trying to understand Tapa. So briefly, if we recall, what is Tapa? Tapa is bearing the discomfort of the extremes, not getting disturbed because of the difficulties being faced. So from that perspective, Tapa was helping us to maintain equanimous mind, balanced state of mind. This is in case of the difficulties which we face in day-to-day life. But apart from that also, we saw that Tapa is used for strengthening some of the worthwhile attitudes. Tapa is also used for breaking down of the old habits. And then the quote by Dr. Jaydev, which we had studied right at the beginning. Tapa, like fire, breaks down the old and lets in the new. So when we want to create something new, the old structure has to go. That old structure can be broken down with the help of Tapa. So several examples we had seen. If we want to give up a habit, the habit could be of eating something wrong, drinking, smoking, getting angry, feeling weak, feeling afraid, anything. We saw in detail that how Tapa can help in that. Because only through Tapa we can really change what is already existing. So here we know that why we have come to yoga, why we are discussing yoga, why we are practicing yoga. Because somewhere at the back of the mind, we desire that some change should come in our life. Because if we were satisfied with the present state of affairs, then there's no need to put any effort. There's no need to discuss about this. The fact that we are discussing it, we are thinking about it, we are practicing it, it shows that we want some kind of change. Now, this change can come about only with the help of Tapa, because unless we break down the old patterns of behavior, new patterns of behavior will not emerge. So that is why doctor's quote is there, that Tapa like fire burns down the old. And it creates space, it creates possibility for new things to emerge, new things to arrive. So that is what is Tapa. And then we also saw various kinds of Tapa. Tapa can be practiced at 3 levels. So Kaya, Vacha, Mansa. At the physical level, which whatever the physical activities we are doing, Tapa can be practiced. At speech level, how we speak, what we say, what we don't say. Because speech is a very, very important area where Tapa can be practiced. And there we saw that Kasta Mauna and Akara Mauna. two kinds of mauna, practice of silence. We just withdraw and remain silent. That was the integral practice of Tapa, very important practice of Tapa, which was adopted by many great sages and saints of India. Even the well-known sadhus, they have adopted this technique of silence. They go into mauna. I had mentioned about Vinoba Bhave. Vinoba Bhave, whenever he felt something was wrong, he will go into silence. And then he claimed that this mauna, this tapa, was really helping him to gain a lot of energy. We have known about Gandhiji also. Several other saints and sages are there who have practiced tapa. So maun, vachik tapa was another. And then mansik tapa, tapa at the mental level. So not reacting, bearing the difficulties. And we also saw that how we can practice tapa in situations which are not conducive to us, which are unfavorable. So during the day when we are traveling, we get late. Train stops, we don't get transportation. Some people are behaving nasty. So various occasions are there during the day where we get opportunity to practice tapa. So this is the way tapa is practiced, where situations are involuntary in nature. But tapa also can be practiced in a voluntary way where we identify there are certain weaknesses in our personality. So from that perspective, when we see practice of all the yamas and niyamas, asanas, they can constitute tapa. Pranayam has been considered as a highest tapa in Mahabharata. Mahabharata claims that pranayam is the highest kind of tapasya. With that, you can bring about a lot of change. So these were the various kinds of tapa, and various methods were there. And we also saw that at the time of Vedas, the principal technique which was adopted, yoga-like techniques were there right from the time of Vedas. They were in the process of finding out ways of getting connected to higher truths, where they could understand the secrets of nature, they could understand the secret of existence and universe. So various methods were being tried and tested, and one of the principal methods during the Vedic time was tapa. In one of the Upanishads, it is said, in the Prajapati, with the help of tapa, created the world. So we had talked about that in Mundaka Upanishad, it has been mentioned. So tapa is a very old and established technique. And here as a niyama, tapa has to be understood. If we try to understand it from the point of view of self-development, we see that every day to get up at a certain time, doing one's yoga practices is also tapa. So all the sadhana which is there, it will go under the category of tapa, where we are voluntarily doing something with the idea that we will gain some strength, we'll gain some clarity, we'll gain some strength, we'll gain some better state of mind, better state of body, better health. So all those practices can fall under the category of tapa. And it is very integral part of yoga sadhana. Now this today's sutra is talking about the siddhi which can be attained with the help of tapa. So the sutra reads, Kayendriya Siddhi Ashuddhi Kshaya Tapasah. Kayendriya Siddhi Ashuddhi Kshaya Tapasah. Through destruction of impurities, practice of austerities bring about perfection of the body and organs. This is what the sutra says. That through tapa, when Ashuddhi Kshaya takes place, impurities are weakened or impurities are removed, then one attains the siddhis of the body and organs. So siddhis have been talked about in two ways. at the physical level and as well as the Indriya level or the organ level. So we'll look into that. Now this Kaya Siddhi, we see that entire chapter 3 of Patanjali Yoga Sutra is talking about Siddhis, unusual powers, extraordinary powers. So Siddhi is something which is extraordinary. What is ordinary and easily available and it is there with everybody, that cannot be termed as Siddhi. Siddhi means something which is unusual, something which is not easily accessible, which is accessible only by few. So that we term as Siddhi. Later on in chapter 4, when we will look at Siddhis, what happens in a Siddhi is that there is an altered state of consciousness. Mind completely changes. Our thinking, our perceptions, our understanding, our way of looking at things, it completely changes. And that is what has been referred to as Siddhi. So in chapter 4, the very first sutra, it talks about various ways of attaining Siddhis. So Siddhi has been a very important concept in yoga. So here they say that with the help of Tapa, practice of Tapa, when the impurities are weakened, then the Siddhis arise. And these Siddhis are of two kinds. The Kayak Siddhi and Indriya ki Siddhi. Now what is Kayak Siddhi? So in India, they have been somehow always concerned with the supernatural powers. So Siddhis have been very nicely listed. Now Patanjali does not mention or does not give us name of any Siddhi. But the commentators, they tell us that there are 8 kind of Siddhis which scriptures talk about. And what are those? Anima, Lagima, Mahima, Prapti. These 4 have been considered as the Kayak Siddhis. Siddhis related to body. Now when we say Siddhis related to body, what do we mean by that? What we mean by Siddhis of body is that body acquires extraordinary power, extraordinary strength, extraordinary capacity to perform some action which normally individual cannot perform. So now when we look at anima, anima means becoming small. Now we cannot even imagine, how it must be taking place or what must be happening. So person becoming small. In scriptures we have come across these kind of siddhis. Ashuddhi Navnidhi ke data. So Ashuddhi, these 4 are the Ashuddhis which are related to the body. So we come across an instance of Ramayana. So 2 siddhis, anima and mahima, becoming big, becoming small, becoming big. Now this is seen in case of Ramayana when Hanuman is going to Lanka in search of Ma Sita. Then he come across a demon, and there he is required to go. Now this demon wants to eat him up, and then it says that Hanuman went on increasing his size, and he became very big, and then suddenly he became very small, and he entered the mouth of the demon, and then he came out. He said, "See, I have fulfilled your desire. You wanted to put me in your mouth. I have come. Now let me go and I have to finish my work." So he demonstrated the siddhi of this anima and mahima. So like that, physical siddhis are there, like Lagima is Lagima is becoming very light, Lagu hona, Mahima is Mahan hona, Anima is to become very small, like Anu. Prapti is, to be able to reach and touch anything which is far and distant. So sitting here, one can touch something which is far away, maybe miles and miles away. That kind of siddhi. So these are the kayak siddhis. And then we have Indriya siddhi, Durdarshan ya Dur Shravan ki siddhi. Sitting here, we can see something far. So clairvoyance maybe, where we are able to see things which are not in front of us, but far away. So that will be the Durdarshan. Then Durshravan, we can hear the sounds of somebody talking at a great distance. So this Ishitva, Vashitva, Prakamya, these are very important siddhis and very big siddhis. We need not go into the details, they are there listed. So now these siddhis are attained as a result of tapa, and tapa causing ashuddhi shaya. Now, let us understand the entire process, how it must be happening. Because what we need to understand here, exactly we will not be able to say that this is what it is or this is how it is happening. But we can only speculate under the, whatever has been stated in the scriptures. So when we talk about this Ashuddhi Shaya idea, again you will find in yoga, the most important thing is Ashuddhi Shaya. And this we have discussed earlier also. When we were discussing about Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha, the Brahma Vihara of Gautam Buddha. What Buddha calls Brahma Vihara. 4 practices are there: Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha. And they are the purificatory processes. Through that the mind gets purified, and as a result mind attains Chitta Prasadana. This we have seen in chapter 1. Then chapter 1 also talks about antarayas. These antarayas are nothing but impurities. So the term which is used to describe these antarayas is yoga mala. Yoga mala means impurities in yoga. So what are and those impurities, where they will be? Obviously, when we talk about impurities in yoga, they are existing in our personality. So they are the impurities which are coming into the way of success in yoga. And what are these impurities? What are these antarayas? So we saw those 9 antarayas and 4 accompanying factors which are there. Vyadhi, Styan, Sanshay, Pramad, Alasya, Avirati, Bhranti Darshan, Alabdha Bhumikatva, Anavastitatvani, Chitta Vikshepa Asteva Antaraya. So these are the Chitta Vikshepas. They are the distractions, weaknesses of the mind, because of which the mind cannot acquire good concentration. So these have to be weakened. And how to weaken them? Through yoga. So this we had discussed earlier, and 4 accompanying factors are there. Dukkha Daurmanasya Angame Jayatva Shwasa Prashwasa. These are the 4 factors which are accompanying all the antarayas. So antarayas are also yoga mala. They are also impurities which have to be given up. So even the disease could be at both the levels, the physical level as well as at the mental level. So getting rid of the disease, becoming healthy. How we can become healthy? Only by the impurity and toxins which are causing the disease, they have to be removed. Then only it is possible to be healthy. So like that, all the antarayas, we have discussed them in detail. And then when we came to Ashtanga Yoga, the Sutra 28 of chapter 2, again we discussed about Ashuddhi Shaya in great detail. Because when we look at Sutra 28, which is talking about Ashtanga Yoga, so Yoga Anga Anushtanad Ashuddhi Shaya Jnana Deeptira Viveka Khyate. So with the help of Ashtanga Yoga, with the practice of Ashtanga Yoga, the purification takes place. The impurities are removed. As a result, there is a Jnana Deepti. One acquires new knowledge. Knowledge is purified, and ultimately that knowledge, which goes on increasing in luster and shining, it results into Viveka Khyati. So Ashuddhi Shaya is an essential condition for success in yoga. And 2 sutras back, when we discussed about Shaucha, what is Shaucha? Shaucha is again a purificatory process. So various kinds of purificatory processes have been described. We looked at the Shatakarma, Dhauti, Basti, Neti, Nauli, Tratak, and Kapalbhati, which are there in yoga. And Dhauti has been again subdivided into so many. So even Kapalbhati, we have seen that it's a very important process. Same thing is there in Ayurveda in the form of Panchakarmas. Panchakarmas are purificatory processes. Because unless this purification, unless the toxicities are removed from the body, the health cannot be restored. So body has to be purified. Toxins have to be removed. So impurities have to be dwindled, they have to be weakened. That is the essential thing. Now here also the process of tapa. What happens through tapa? What tapa does? What tapa does is tapa will remove the impurities. Ashuddhi क्षय होगा तप से. Ashuddhi क्षय होगा तप से. That means that capacities which we have, which are being restricted because of the impurities, those impurities, once they are gone, then the capacity of the organs will go on increasing. That is what this sutra is trying to tell us. So as we have got lots of restrictions imposed on body because of the various reasons. And these restrictions can be removed with the help of tapa. And we have seen that how it is happening. It is not that it is something which is far-fetched, but various kinds of examples are there. Last time when we were talking about tapa, I gave you example of please believe it or not. This this feature is very commonly depicted in various books and earlier when we used to read comics. In comics also always there'll be a page called please believe it or not. And then there was a TV channel, I think now it is not there, AXN was there. In that they will show this kind of physical facts, physical capacities. Last time we mentioned a person is able to pull a truck with the help of his hair, or he will hold something in his teeth and then he can pull the entire truck or he can pull the entire wagon. These kind of physical performances were given, and this channel was very popular. People used to all over the world, people having extraordinary capacities. And I had seen one, a cowboy. We have read the books about cowboys. So now this person, it was shown that he could literally draw the revolver and he could shoot like a cowboy, and he did not raise his hand to the level of the eyes, but from the hip only he will shoot. So he'll draw the pistol, he'll draw the revolver, and then he'll start shooting. And there was an aluminum sheet placed at a little distance, maybe 100 meters or little less, and he will just fire. And within few seconds, you could see the pattern of a Red Indian head, Red Indian chief head appearing on the aluminum sheet. And this he created with the firing. Now this is an extraordinary thing, it is unbelievable kind of thing. So this can also be termed as a Siddhi. And what could be the reason? Practice. Tapa. Only Tapa has created this kind of ability, and every day, they do it. I remember a story which is related to Tapa, which I often used to talk about. This story was about a wrestler, a bodybuilder. It so happened that a particular king who was fond of wrestling, he invited all the wrestlers and to perform in his kingdom. And then he asked them to perform some extraordinary physical capacity to get the first prize. And people came from various places. And there was this one particular man who came. At the end of the performance, what did he did? He called for a big bull in the arena. And as soon as the bull came, this man lifted the bull in his hands. And he took a round of the entire arena. The weight of that bull must have been more than 3-4 times of this individual, but he was able to lift it. So king was really pleased and he was declared winner. So king asked him, what is the secret of this performance? And this man said that I am basically a herdman. I am not extraordinary man. I am a herdman. So what is a herdman? Herdman takes the animals or cows and buffaloes and bulls to forest for grazing. That is the work of herdman. So he said, right from my childhood, I will take these animals for grazing in the forest, and there was a small temple there, and that temple had 100 steps. So I will sit near the temple and all the animals will be grazing. They will be eating grass. And evening I'll collect them. I'll bring them home. So during the day, as I was sitting there, I used to get bored. So what happened is, along with this herd, even the small, you know, kids were also, a cow, they will also be there. So he will lift a small baby cow, and he will go on the he go on 100 steps to the temple, and then he will come down, he'll go up and he'll come down, he'll go up and he'll come down. This way every day he was lifting a small animal and going to the temple top and coming down, and gradually he went on developing strength. A day came that he was able to lift a bull and go 100 steps up. So he says that this is the secret of my success, that every day I used to practice this. And over a period of time, my strength went on increasing. Now you see, this is Tapa. He is performing this every day. Every day he is bearing that little amount of pain or suffering. He is bearing that discomfort of carrying such a load. But then ultimately he was able to get this kind of capacity. So it is a story. And why I used to say that many people who want success in yoga, what they do is that as soon as they join yoga, they immediately want to attain something big. So किसी को समाधि चाहिए, किसी को कुंडलिनी जागृत करनी है, किसी को कोई सिद्धि पानी है. तो they are in a hurry. But then हरी से काम नहीं चलेगा. It is a tapa. It is a sadhana. थोड़ा 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 करके परिवर्तन आएगा, थोड़ा थोड़ा परिवर्तन आके suddenly that it develops into a capacity. I am sure those who are practicing yoga sincerely for some years, they will find that on some fine day, on some fine morning, they suddenly realize, oh, lot has changed in me. It could be in the form of, my God, I am not getting angry. It's a Siddhi. It's a Siddhi. It has not come in one day. My God, I am not getting disturbed. People are irritating, but I am not getting disturbed. This is a Siddhi. And it doesn't come easily. It comes after a lot of practice, lot of tapa. And what that tapa has done, tapa has removed the impurity of getting irritated in us. The weakness in us, it has been removed. So this is how the siddhis really work. At the physical level also, extraordinary powers are there. When we talk about these siddhis in the world of yoga, you will often find that one thing is there, that when we talk about siddhis, siddhis are going to be there in the life of a yoga practitioner. This is the rule. If one is sincerely practicing, if one is sincerely trying all that which is required to be done, siddhis are going to be there. They could be in minor form or in a major form. It could be merely, maybe it could be some influence on other people. That is also a kind of siddhi. It could be understanding somebody's mind. That is also a kind of, so these are going to be there. That is why perhaps Patanjali has devoted an entire chapter to siddhis and extraordinary powers. And then it comes with sufficient warning that please understand that these siddhis are not to be used for personal end, but they are a byproduct of yoga practice. But unfortunately, many people may utilize these siddhis for maybe demonstrative purposes, maybe for making a living, like many people used to make living through these kind of practices. When I was young, I was living in a small town, and I have seen some people performing some feats which were really impossible for ordinary individual. And what they claimed was it was because of the power of yoga. I am sure some of you, if you have gone and visited Juhu Beach or Chowpatty in early 60s, you must have seen people performing this yogic feat. They will bury their head in the sand. they will remain buried under the sand for many hours. And people will just throw coins and you offer them some money. This will go on for 2-3 hours. They will be buried under the sand, and it will appear how they might be breathing because their head is inside. But these kind of people were there. Nowadays you don't see them. Nowadays they have become very less. But earlier, when perhaps no, professions were, job opportunities were less, and people had various ways of earning money. मदारी लोग, बंदर को नचाने वाले, सांप को नचाने वाले, रास्ते पे. Now also you see rope walking, small girls walking on the rope. Now these were the various kinds of activities which were done to earn money, but somewhere they were related to this idea of tapa. They had practiced it, they had done tapa. That's why they were, but then they were utilizing it only for the. So, but this kind of thing has been mentioned that for several days, around 40 days, there was this yogi called Haridas. He buried himself in front of Maharaj Ranjit Singh of Punjab. It is a recorded fact. Historically, it is recorded that this Haridas yogi, he buried himself, and for 40 days he did not come out. After 40 days, when he was brought out, he was still alive and hale and hearty. Now, this kind of Siddhi was demonstrated by Haridas by the power of yogi. But then, if Dr. Jayadev like person would be there, so he'll ask, what did he achieve then? So, what kind of mental state he was in? Why did he do it? Why did he demonstrate it? What was the need to demonstrate it? So, what he was interested in? This is the question Dr. Jayadev or Swami Hariharananda would ask. What is the use of this Siddhi? So, Siddhis are possible, and Siddhis are going to be there if one is sincerely trying something. Extraordinary things happen in life, but then it has to be done, it has to be understood in proper perspective. So, this is how Siddhis were demonstrated. And we have seen that, when I was thinking about these Siddhis, I was reminded of great power which can be achieved with the physical practices. And if one is really interested in higher things, through the physical acts, one can rise very high spiritually. So one doesn't have to get stuck there. The problem is that person gets stuck there, and once a person is stuck there, then he cannot progress further. So if he's not getting stuck there and always he's keeping that spiritual aspect in his mind while performing everything, then he can rise to great heights. Like examples are there, extraordinary things are possible with the body. I gave you the example of Replis. All over world, these kind of feats are there. Talking about this, for example, Tai Chi, Chinese art. In Tai Chi, there are proficient persons who don't even keep their eyes open and look intently anywhere. They are just standing there and they know from where the attack is coming, and they just go on acting in a manner and they are able to deflect all the attacks. They don't even have to look. They feel it. They have developed that kind of ability. But if it is only at the physical level, then it doesn't help much. But it has to go to a spiritual level. So I was reading more and I'm reading more and more about Zen. So in Zen, I recently read a book by Eugene Herrigal, The Zen in the Art Archery. Zen in the Art of Archery. So here he learned Zen archery from a great master, and this master's name was Kenzo Awa, and he is a legendary figure. So about him, it is said that 100 shots, 100 bullseyes. 100 shots, 100 bullseyes. That is how he is described. Why? Because if he shoots 100 times, every time it will be bullseye. But those who have seen him performing, they say that he never even looked at the target. He'll just lift the bow. Once he had looked at the target, then he'll just lift the bow and arrow will be released in a perfect way. About him, it is said that he was the person who transformed archery from a physical act to a spiritual act. So he could transcend all the limitations of the physical level, and he could rise to a level where he could be spiritually, what can be attained by Zen meditation was attained by Zen archery. That is what has been claimed by the students. And, if you do research on even Google, you can find a lot of material on his. So he was the person who turned physical act into something which was very spiritual. Now, same thing is there, performing at the physical level, but going into the spiritual. So Tapa, even if the Tapa is done at the physical level, it has got very good potential and it can give us a lot of benefits. Exactly what must be happening, when the impurities are removed, exactly what must be happening. Now, this process has been beautifully explained in chapter 4, second sutra. And somehow that word which is there in second sutra of chapter 4, that has been used by Swami Hariharanand Aranya also in his commentary on Bhaswati. So earlier I thought about it, and then when I was just reading that, I read that word and it confirmed what is happening. So now this sutra says, Jatyantara parinama prakritya purat. Jatyantara parinama prakritya purat. So I told you the first sutra of chapter 4 relates to Siddhi, how the Siddhis can be attained, how extraordinary powers can be attained. And there, even change in the mental state, even going into a new kind of life, being born in a new life with extraordinary capacities, all that has been talked about. But how the Siddhis come, this principle has been given in second sutra, Jatyantara parinama prakritya pura. An example has been given of a farmer. He said, what a farmer does. If he has got a field and he wants to water his field, then what he does is, there is a higher field in which water is there. So he will just cause a little breach at the side of the field, and the water will flow down to his field. So when a farmer is watering his field, he doesn't bring water with his hands. He doesn't fill water with bucket and put it in. That is not the way it is done. So he will, cause a breach at the higher level, water will automatically flow. Why water will flow? Because it is the nature of water to flow. So when a person recognizes that our bodies have got limitations, and if we break those limitations, then the higher nature will automatically follow. That is how the higher siddhis are attained. When we work on our limitations, when we try to remove those limitations with the help of Tapa, what Tapa does is Tapa breaches these weaknesses, breaches these impurities or blocks. Blocks and impurities are always in the form of restriction, प्रतिबंध. एक बार प्रतिबंध हटा दिया तो फिर हम लोग घर में बैठे हैं, बारिश पड़ रही है, हमारे ऊपर नहीं पड़ रही है, because the roof is there. If you remove the roof, what will happen? We'll all get wet, because that is the nature of rain. So we have created that pratibandh. So same way we have created restrictions in our body and mind. We have created restriction in our mind कि नहीं ये तो मुझसे तो नहीं हो सकता. That means we have restricted ourselves. ये मैं नहीं कर सकता. मेरी capacity इतनी है. This is a restriction we have imposed on ourselves. So if we remove this restriction, then what happens is extraordinary ability may arise. It may appear. So that is why perhaps that could be a possible explanation. How Tapa is breaking the impurities and how the higher things are arising. We have to work on our limitation, that's all. Working and removing our limitations is what is done by Tapa. And once Tapa is helpful in removing those limitations, the higher nature will appear. So here they have said that, the acts like the pranayam. Now understand, pranayam is, when we are doing pranayam, we are taking example of pranayam because pranayam has been termed as the highest tapa in Mahabharata. So now when we talk about pranayam, what we do is the normal course, we have developed a habit, a pattern of breathing. It happens automatically. Right now we have been talking since last 45 minutes. The breathing is going on. Everybody is breathing. Automatically the breathing is going on. But this breathing is within certain limits. So now when we are doing pranayam, what happens is, if the natural limit is we are inhaling only 500 ml air at the time, some people maybe only 350 ml, then through pranayam we can draw more air. And gradually, if we continuously do it, then our breathing improves a lot. And then as a result, the breathing rate, which is 16 per minute, may go to 5 per minute or 10, 6 per minute. This is a tremendous change taking place in the body. And the effect of that kind of change on the body is tremendous in terms of health, in terms of concentration, in terms of purity of the body. So this is how, all the pranayams, sadhana or asanas, even the practice of yamas and niyamas. Now these are the practices which are conducive to a divine nature. These are not human nature, but divine nature, conducive to divine nature. So through tapa, when we are practicing yamas or niyamas, or when we are practicing tapa in the form of asanas and pranayams, provided they are done in a correct manner, these can take us in the ego trip also. Oh, I am able to do so much. I am able to perform this. I am able to do this. Then it becomes an ego trip. We don't grow. But then if one is able to transcend, one is able to transcend that body consciousness and that limitations of the body, then something extraordinary can happen. So this is how really tapa is helpful. We just try to understand how we are just, I don't know, I do not claim that this is how exactly it is happening, but these are the thoughts which are related to it. Perhaps this is how tapa is working. So tapa is removing our limitations. Tapa is removing our obstacles. Tapa is removing our impurities. And as a result, something bigger is appearing. That is how it can be understood. So that's why it says that Kayendriya Siddhi Ashuddhi Kshaya Tapas. तप से जब अशुद्धियों का क्षय होता है, तब काया और इंद्रियों की सिद्धियां उत्पन्न होती है. So we are just trying to understand it. Maybe, because it is a Sutra yoga idea, so we have to discuss about it. And that's why I said that these are the possibilities which are there related to tapa. Now, you see, it is at smaller level, as I told you, that if you are practicing yoga, they do happen. Something which we considered as some impossible, or something which we considered very difficult in the initial stages, we have been able to perform it. We are able to do it if we keep at it, if we try and if we practice. This has happened in case of so many sadhakas. So many sadhakas. Their personalities have been transformed. They may not feel that, things have changed for me, but if you pay attention, what was the original state and where we are, things have changed. Things have tremendously changed. But then we have a habit that we always focus on the lack. And that's why we are not able to appreciate. We are not able to understand that so many good things are happening. So in a way, this sutra is a positive thing to discuss.
Niranjan, I have a question in the sense, today is 3rd August.
Yeah.
3rd September 1983 is when I had joined the institute. So almost 40 years.
Yeah.
And with God's grace, there has been a continuous association. And because of that, enjoying good health, even now at 62. But what I have been lately feeling is this tapa, this good routines and all that is going on with God's grace. But they bring me to a little certain point. Beyond that point, it is not in my capacity to overcome my kleshas and all these impurities. They are so deeply entrenched that I have lately been trying to be more regular in my prayers and trying to surrender myself and telling him that it is not in my capacity. You have to take over and you have to help me out. So there is a little more sincerity. I won't say lot of sincerity, a little more sincerity and regularity in my prayers. And I feel lately that is helping me more rather than my own efforts, which are helping me mostly at the physical level. At the mental level, these impurities, these kleshas are not in my capacity to overcome, to come out of it. God only will have to invoke and he will help me out. That is what I have been lately feeling. And I feel there has been a little change, a little less of impurities vis-a-vis kleshas.
So, the practice of all these years has resulted into this understanding, this realization that there are limitations to the efforts. So that is also a kind of wisdom which has been gained, because now we are on the first step of Kriya Yoga, that is Tapa. So along with Tapa comes Swadhyaya, and along with Swadhyaya comes Ishwar Pranidhana. So three things are there. So when we talk in terms of yoga, Swami Haryanandaranya, they have published a book called Trai. Trai means three. So Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga, they go hand in hand. Somehow people think that one can attain everything from Karma Yoga, one can attain everything from Bhakti Yoga. तीनों साथ में चलते हैं, कुछ ना कुछ कर्म भी रहता है, कुछ ना कुछ भक्ति भी रहती है, उसके साथ में ज्ञान भी रहता है. So it's a very nice graduation, it's a nice progress which is there, that we realize that there is a larger reality also, there is a larger process. So everything cannot be gained with the help of one's own efforts. It's a very good realization, I would say. It's a very good insight you have got, I would feel personally. And somewhere we have to bring in that element of surrender. Without that, we cannot succeed. To be able to surrender also is a capacity. And this can come only when the ego, impurity called ego, is reduced a little bit. Without that, surrender is also not possible. Surrender is possible only when we are able to subdue our ego a little bit. उसके बिना तो surrender भी possible नहीं.
सर ये बोल सकते हैं कि धीरे धीरे अपना पुरुषार्थ अगर राइट डायरेक्शन में है तो हमारा कर्ता भाव कम होते जा रहा है और धीरे धीरे वी आर अचीविंग दैट साक्षी भाव एंड इन दैट आवर ईगो इज गेटिंग slowly diluted.
Yes, can be said that.
Means most of the time we feel that it is done by me. Means the person got more marks, my son got more marks because of my tuitions or my teaching, but slowly we realize that it was his own capacity to grasp.
Very true. So the realizing that there's a higher power involved and not everything we can do. We cannot take credit for everything good happening to us. This realization itself is also a kind of understanding we are gaining.
So can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So there are two things. One is, I think Tapa can help you. The purpose of Tapa, I think there are two things that are a bit, where I need some clarification and guidance. One is, the purpose of Tapa is to help you eliminate the weakness in your personality, or is it to get some Siddhi? That's one. And secondly, to build on Ajay Bhai's question, if from my point of view, if I want to reduce the weakness in my personality, which is basically coming from kleshas, and let's say, like you said, for anger, it's very, you have to try to control your anger. So it's like a tap. But what about attachment, like raga, and what about abnivesh? What would the right tapas be to address these kind of weaknesses in the personality?
So when we were discussing Kriya Yoga, that time I had read one passage. I had read one passage in Hindi. So I have that in front of me, and I will just read it. So things will, perhaps it will answer what you have asked. तप, तप का अर्थ है विषय सुख का त्याग. जिन कर्मों से आपाततः सुख होता है, उन कर्मों के निरोध की चेष्टा करना तप है. धातु की विषमता न हो ऐसा तप अनुकूल है, एवं जिससे राग द्वेष आदि मूलक सहज कर्मों का निरोध हो जाता है. द्वंद्व सहन करना, आसन, मौन, प्राणायाम, व्रत, उपवास आदि. So it is not only the anger. Anger comes from attachment. Attachment is the source of anger. Because when things which we are attached to, we don't get that, then we get angry. So all the kleshas are worked upon by Tapa. All the kleshas. And Aranya, the commentators are very clear that bearing something, at both the levels Tapa will work. Removing the impurities, removing the weaknesses, that is one part. For that, we will get ample opportunities if we have decided. Now, suppose, very simple way of practicing Tapa is like, let us make a resolve today. Or maybe tomorrow morning or every morning, we take a resolve that today, throughout the day, I will try to keep my mind very calm. I know irritations will come. I know difficulties will come. I know things will not go according to my wishes. But I will try to keep my mind very calm, quiet, and relaxed. If we take this resolve and then we go through the day process, we'll find there are n number of opportunities to practice this tapa, because there'll be so many irritants we will come across. People may be nasty, you might be getting delayed, or things are not happening according to you. So many things can go wrong. So this is one way of practicing tapa, where we go on becoming more and more stronger by way of maintaining right frame of mind, right state of mind. So when tapa is practiced in this manner, we are strengthening our personality, our mind, and at the same time we are weakening all the kleshas. Because irritation comes from where? Fear. Suppose if we are afraid, fear comes from abhinivesh. We are afraid of change. It comes from abhinivesh. We get stuck up. It comes from abhinivesh. We feel hatred, we feel angry, we feel resentment, we feel resentment towards somebody. It comes from dvesha. So every time we are able to maintain our mind, when mind is about to get disturbed, we are practicing tapa, and it is weakening the klesha. This is one area. The other area is, I'm not good, my body, I get sick again and again. Why I get sick again and again? Because I eat wrong food. And what kind of wrong food do I eat? Maybe I'm eating too many sweets. Maybe I'm eating too much. Maybe I'm drinking something which is not conducive to my health. So when we realize that every time there's a temptation to eat more, or every time there's a temptation to go for sweet thing, we stop ourselves. That is also tapa. So we are working directly on the object of pleasure. We are working directly on the object of raga. We like sweets, so we are working on this. Even though I like sweet, but I make it a rule that I will not eat more than one. When we make this rule that I will not eat more than one, it is tapa. So we can decide today itself, which part of our personality we need to work on, which habit is creating maximum problems for us, and let us work at some. For some people, getting angry could be the area. For some people, they are always afraid that if I do this, this will happen. They don't take a step. Somebody wants to become a public speaker, but then he doesn't go for the opportunities where public speaking is taking place because he's afraid. So this way, both ways tapa can work. when we are trying to maintain a good state of mind, positive frame of mind, and eliminating, and we are resolving it, we are doing it consciously, then it becomes tapa. It breaks the old patterns, it breaks old habits. And so if you want to inculcate something positive, then consciously we decide. So doing asanas, now I'm not able to do Padmasana. So every day, little bit, bearing little pain, asanas will come, there we'll talk about it. Some amount of bearing of pain is involved. That is tapa.
That asana, that pranayam will not help you. That is also a form of tapa, in general tapa, but that will not help you eliminate anger and irritation.
Yes, it can. It can. Pranayam can do much more than that. If it is done properly, then it creates such beautiful states of mind that, and once those experiences are gathered, then earlier lower things are automatically, like last time Ajay said, things drop off. We don't have to do anything, they just drop. Because now you have enjoyed something bigger, something higher, something better. When we have something better, why go for lower thing? It will drop.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Sir, overdoing of pranayam can cause hyper also, can make you hyper also. Is it possible?
If it is done wrong way. If it is done wrong way, it will definitely cause problems. In fact, doctor had always warned, and he used to give example of some people who had lost their mind because of the wrong practices of pranayama. Very potent. In fact, asanas also, they are very potent techniques. They have to be done very carefully. But then those techniques have got the potential to give us very high things, big things. So they have to be done very cautiously and properly. Breathing done wrongly will definitely cause damage to the body and mind.
Which means that if you are not, suppose we are doing kumbhak and I'm holding more than the double count, then will it affect?
If you are comfortable, it will not affect. It will be very helpful. But if there is less capacity, and just because we want to prove to ourselves we hold longer than necessary, then it will damage the lungs. And one of the result would be that the elasticity of lungs will be reduced. It will be lost because of the kumbhak. Holding too long can damage the alveoli at the end of the lungs. The sacs which are there, they are very elastic. But if you keep them inflated for a you know the example of a balloon. When the balloon is new, we find it difficult to inflate. But few times if we have inflated the balloon, then it becomes very easy to inflate it, because it has lost its elasticity to a certain extent. And then after some time, you'll find the balloon remains inflated little bit. Same way it can happen to the lungs. When wrong breathing is done, wrong holding is done, it can damage the lungs.
Thank you, sir.
It has to be moderation. Yeah.
Yes, sir. आपने जो आज आर्चरी का एग्जांपल दिया ना, सो आगाशे सर ने और एक एग्जांपल दिया था. दे इन ज़ेन दे हैव अ स्वॉर्ड फाइटिंग. तो उसमें जो दोनों they reach satori. The satori is samadhi, because they have to be so much concentrated in that sword. One has to die, but both of them will get the satori. So that is what I reminded. क्योंकि जो बच भी गया उसे भी समाधि मिल जाएगी. उसका concentration is that high in that sword fighting.
That was in the real martial art where the killing was involved. But here it is now this sword fighting and archery is not for the killing, or the target is not human beings, but the target is the self. It's a discipline through which we realize the self. So now it is not reduced to fighting amongst two people, but it is something which is a spiritual practice.
Yes.
For the growth of the self.
Yeah. Wonderful session.
So, I have a question.
Yes, Shiva. Yes, Shiva. Bolo.
So this Tapas, Swadhyaya, Ishwar Pranidhan, can it be related to in that order Karma Yoga ज्ञान and
ज्ञान योग भक्ति, कर्मयोग, ज्ञान योग, भक्ति योग, तीनों आ गए, तीनों त्रयी है वो.
yeah, and we have this Tapas Svadhyaya Ishwar Pranidhan in Niyama and also as part of Kriya Yoga again.
Kriya.
So,
Yes.
sir, can you please just help understand whether it's different there and here, or is it how it is to be understood?
Yeah,
Why
the fact that Patanjali has mentioned them separately, first as a Kriya Yoga and then as a part of Niyama. In Kriya Yoga, what happens is the Kriya Yoga is for the man of action. A person who cannot stop himself from acting, he is necessarily a performer. So how he should regulate his actions? He should regulate and guide his actions in 3 ways. Through Tapa, through Swadhyaya, and through Ishwar Pranidhan. So all his actions are guided by Tapa, Swadhyaya. So for him, throughout the day, what is to be done? Only 3 things. Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishwar Pranidhan. These are the 3 things. Whereas niyamas are slightly diluted. Niyamas are to be practiced when occasion arises. Suppose we are facing some difficulties. That is the time when niyamas can be practiced. So in a way, niyamas are little less in intensity than the Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga is more intense. There it is the central theme. Here it is secondary theme. Here yamas become more important in Ashtanga Yoga.
So, but this brings me to another question that here in niyamas, these are meant for the Nimna Adhikari. Ashtanga Yoga, as part of Ashtanga Yoga, though it is useful, it's relevant for everyone, but it's specifically included for the Nimna Adhikari. And here in the Kriya Yoga, it is for the Madhyama Adhikari. So then, is that does that also bring any different facet to this, or is there a different?
Yeah, obviously, it shows the difference in the personality of the practitioner. So Kriya Yoga is suitable to certain type of personality, and Ashtanga Yoga is suitable to generally, we at the ordinary level, we have got all kinds of weaknesses, all kinds of difficulty, kinds of problem areas are there. So for us, Ashtanga Yoga is suited. And a person is there who's really determined, kind of, who's maybe a person like founder, or maybe person like Dr. Jaydev, highly evolved. So they don't require much instructions. They know what is to be done, and they act in that manner. That's all. And we again and again falter. We again and again go back to our difficulties. So for us, Ashtanga Yoga is better suited.
So it means for those the Uttamadhikari and Nimnadhikari, all the preliminary stages are already an inherent part of their nature.
True.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, by mentioning that Tapasvadhyaya and the Ishwar Pranidhanani in that Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, does it gives us the hierarchy that one is better than the other?
No, let us not think it that way.
Okay.
Because that way, if we see it is action. Now Kriya Yoga is similar to Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, or Bhagavad Gita. Kriya Yoga is similar to Karma Yoga mentioned in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. But then if we read the chapter 2, properly, you will find that there also, Jnana has to be accompanied. Jnana has to be there. That's why along with Tapa, along with the physical part, there's Swadhyaya. And then also the surrender is there to recognize higher reality. So there's nothing superior, and it will depend on the individual's growth.
Right.
So at one point, he has to practice something of each, maybe.
Yeah, I feel that in one's life, actually, all 3 comes like, in towards in certain period of time, if one realizes it.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Thank you so much.
So we leave it here. आज बहुत time हो गया.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll send you the recording.
Thank you, sir.